Good day, everyone. Our topic is structural functionalism and its importance in examining sociocultural, economics, and political conditions.
Structural functionalism. The structural functional opera is a perspective in sociology that sees society as a complex system whose parts work together to promote solidarity and stability. Structural functionalism is a macro theory that looks at how all structures or institutions in society work together. Examples of structures or institutions of society include education, healthcare, family, legal system, economy, and religion. Sa madaling salita, sa loob ng teorya ng functionalist, ang iba't ibang bahagi ng lipunan ay binubuo ng mga institusyong panglipunan na ang bawat isa ay idinedisenyo niya upang upunan ang iba't ibang pangangailangan. At ang bawat isa ay may partikular na mga kahinatnan para sa anyo at hugis ng lipunan. Is structural functionalism. In sociology and other social sciences, structural functionalism is a school of thought according to which each of the institutions, relationships, roles, and norms that together constitute a society serve as a purpose, and each is indispensable for the continued existence of the others and of society as a whole. According to the functionalist perspective of sociology, each aspect of society is interdependent and contributes to society's stability and functioning as a whole. For example, the government provides education to the children of the family, which in turn pay taxes on which the state depends to keep itself running. Criticism of structural functionalism. Structural functionalism is estimated as incompatible in understanding the modern advanced society. It has been subjected to criticism in the contemporary world, primarily because the structural functionalism sees social change as a consequence of society's changing needs. Any form of immediate change is considered a deviation. One criticism of the structural functional theory is that it can adequately explain social change. Also problematic is the somewhat circular nature of this theory. Repetitive behavior patterns are assumed to have function, yet we profess to know that they have function only because they are repeated. Ang functionality ay nakikritik ng maraming sociologists para sa kapabayaan ng mga madalas na negatibong implikasyon ng mga social order. Ang ilang mga kritiko o kritik tulad ng Italian theorist na si Antonio Gramsci ay nag-aangkin na ang pananaw ay nagpapawalang bisa sa status o sa pananakop ng panatiling nito. Ang functionalism ay hindi hinikayat ng mga tao na magsagawa ng aktibong papel sa pagbabago ng kanilang panlipunan.
It claims individualism to be substantially erroneous. Structural functionalism legitimizes the system of hierarchy in society and promotes social inequality in terms of role and positions. If we take a look and think of our hometown's government, if you live in a small town, you will see that the doctors are also the policemen because of the small population. There are plenty of municipal services that can make up a small town, and each part of government contributes something different based on their capabilities. Several decades had passed, and sociology believed that everyone in society was living and interacting like this. They thought that each part of society had a specific task. The sociologists called it framework structural functionalism. In the 19th century, many things happened, and that included here the changes, and they felt that the world was becoming smaller and smaller. Emile Durkheim thinks that if everyone were just focused on a common goal, that when people stop agreeing to that common goal, then society will be in the worst state. But when they agree to it, the society will be in a better state. In his initial phase of scholarly life, Durkheim was deeply impressed by the significance of functional differentiation and the theory of social evolution. Durkheim was influenced by the works of an English sociologist named Herbert Spencer and his study of organic sociology. He claimed that there are two types of society characterized by mechanical solidarity and organic solidarity. Mechanical solidarity is often present in primitive communities where there is an absence of economic advancement and status differentiation, while organic solidarity is economically specialized with extensive division of labor and status differentiation. Durkheim argued that functional differentiation is a prerequisite for society because it strengthens the sense of social solidarity and binds people together, each depending upon the functional services of all for the maintenance of social order.
In structural functionalism, individual institutions work together in service of the whole. To emphasize this theory, based on sociology and other social sciences, structural functionalism is a school of thought that holds that each of the institutions, relationships, roles, and norms that represent a society serves and it has a purpose and is necessary for the continued existence of the others and of society as a whole. So, in other terms, or to be simplified, structural functionalism is a macro theory that examines how all structures and institutions in society interact with one another. For example, is education, healthcare, the family, the legal system, economy, and religion are all one of the examples of societal structures or institutions. So, however, the structural functionalism had a serious problem. It was too far removed from the actual society, indeed, and it assumed that these blocks were homogeneous, all wanting the same thing. So, next slide. The method of functionalism was based on fieldwork and direct observation of societies. In the structural functionalism approach, our society and its institutions and rules was the appropriate thing to study. Cultural cultural traits supported or helped to preserve social structures. Functionalism emphasize the importance of the economy for any society and the income of self-fulfillment that work often provides. Conflict theory highlights the control of the economy by economic elite, the alienation of work, and various problems in the workplace. So based dito, we are all having and witnessed the problems in each institution na nangyayari sa ating mga sektor ng healthcare, education, politics, economy, so sa religion, sa mga work, okay, sa legal system. So we have been witnessed this type of problems. So sinabi rito na dito sa previous slide natin na it was too far from the actual society. So that was very true and it proves now in the present na hindi na natin nasasaksihan yung totoong essence ng ating society when it comes to structural functionalism. So based sa ating mga institution nagkakaroon ng problem, di ba? So, dito natin nakikita yung pagbabago. So, nawawala yung main reason why there are the structural functionalism that exists in our society. Yeah. So, functionalism emphasizes the importance of the economy for any society and the income and self-fulfillment that work often provides. So, yes, next slide. So, the structural functional approach is based on the view that a political system is made up of several key components including interest groups, political parties, and branches of government. The structural functional approach is derived from earlier uses functionalism and system models in anthropology, sociology, biology, and political science. So structural and functional approach is combined, right, as a term. But it has a difference when we separated the two words here, which is structuralism and functionalism. So we are going to analyze that. So here, structuralism is also known as to be part of experimental psychology, and it focuses on different brain elements and their capacities. And functionalism includes and introduced as a counter argument to structuralism. It focuses on the adaptation of human mind to different environments. That's all.
Other basic functions of all political systems included the conversion process, basic pattern maintenance, and various capabilities, distributive, symbolic, etc. Structural functionalists argue that all political systems, including third world systems, could most fruitfully be studied and compared on the basis of how differing structures perform these functions in the various political systems. Structural functionalism is based on a system's models. Conceptually, the political process can be depicted as follows. For analytical purposes, the political system is considered to be the nation state, and the environment is composed of the interactions of economic, social, and political variables and events, both domestic and external. The idea is that there are a number of actors in the national political systems, political parties, bureaucracies, the military, etc., and that the actions of all these actors affect each other as well as the system. The political analysis most determine the importance of these actors in a particular political system. This is done by analyzing the functions performed by the various actors. Any changes in the system also affect all the actors. The feedback mechanism allow for constantly changing inputs as outputs. Structural functionalists, like system analysts, have a bias towards systemic equilibrium, i.e., toward stability. Such a bias tends to make this approach conservative, as stability or evolutionary change is prepared and more easily analyzed to radical or revolutionary change.
A problem which arises with this system-based model is that the nation-state boundaries are often permeable in the real world, rather than being the neatly bounded nation-state conceptualized by structural functionalists. The parts of society that Spencer referred to were the social institution or patterns of beliefs and behavior focused on meeting social needs, such as government, education, family, healthcare, religion, and the economy. Herbert Spencer, an English sociologist, was a forerunner of formalized structural functionalism, best known for coining the phrase survival of the fittest in his book Principles of Sociology, 1896. One of the primary foci in Spencer's work was societal equilibrium. Spencer argued that there is a natural tendency in society towards equilibrium. Table 1. Some social behaviors according to Queck's book 2018. Behaviors. Ritualism occurs when an individual continues to do things as prescribed by society but forfeits the achievement of the goals.
Alright, based on the word ritualism, or in other words, things that people keep doing that can represent as tradition o sa madaling salita, mga bagay na nakasanayan at hindi na mawawala sa buhay ng tao.
Ritualism involves the rejection of both culturally prescribed goals as well as the conventional means of attaining them.
Ang ritualism ay pagtanggi sa parehong layunin at paraan. Rhetoricists reject the society's goal and the legitimate means to achieve them. For example, an alcoholic who is unable to sustain a regular job and end up homeless is another good example of rhetoricism.
Conformity occurs when an individual has the means and desire to achieve the cultural goals socialized into him.
Conformity o ang proseso kung saan ang mga tao ay binabago ang kanilang pananaw sa buhay upang mas mapalapit sa kanilang grupong kinabibilangan. For example, a teenager might dress in a certain style because they want to look like their peers who are members of a particular group.
Rebellion, a combination of the rejection of societal goals and means and the substitution of other goals and means.
Rebellion, o ang pagtanggi ng isang individual sa parehong layunin sa kultura at tradisyon. An example of a rebellion is a refusal by a large group of people to follow a law. Talcott Parsons was an American sociologist and functionalist who attempted to develop and perfect a general analytic model suitable for analyzing all types of collectivities. He was concerned with how elements of society were functional for a society as well as social order. His 5 pattern variables are considered as 5 dichotomies to draw out the contrasting values to which individuals orient themselves in social interactions. Table 2, Talcott Parsons, 5 pattern variables of role definition according to Queck's book 2018. Pattern variables of role definition. First, effectivity versus effective neutrality. Dilemma, deciding whether to express one's own orientation in terms of immediate gratification, effectivity, or whether to renounce immediate gratification in favor of moral interest, effective neutrality. Second, self-orientation versus collective orientation. One role orientation is either in terms of her own interest or in terms of the interest of a group. Third, universalism versus particularism. Dilemma, there is an issue on whether to react to a certain social interaction on the basis of a general norm or reacting on the basis of someone's particular relationship to you. Fourth, achievement versus ascription. Achievement orientation places an importance on the performance and emphasizes individual achievement, while ascription orientation refers to the innate qualities of individual. Fifth, specificity versus diffuseness. This refers to the nature of social contrast and how extensive or how narrow are the obligations in any interaction. Specificity is when the definition of a role is in a specific term, while diffuseness is when role obligations are extended outside the defined role expectations.
So, bali ang structural na functionalismo, yun ang pananaw sa sosyolohiya kung saan ang mga struktura sa loob ng lipunan, institusyon na ito, ay batay sa tungkulin na kanilang pinaglilingkuran, ginagalawan. Gaya nga nang nabanggit sa taas, umiiral dito ang politika bilang isang paraan para may pagtulungan ang mga grupo. Ang politika ay isang tampok na panlipunan na may functionalismo na batayan para sa pagkakaroon nito. General Conceptual Diagram Dork et al. 2007. So, bali sa conceptual na diagram na ito, no, pinapakita dito na ang lahat ng iba't ibang organisasyon at institusyon sa lipunan ay magkakaparehas. Kung may mabago man na isa rito na panlipunan, pinapapasok naman ng iba, ngunit sa pagbabago na yon, may pumamagitan rin sa kanilang lahat. Kahit na sabihin nating makapagpabagal to sa kanila, kahit ano naman makapagpapasok sa atin, di ba?
Specific Conceptual Diagram, Dirk et al. 2007. Below is a chart depicting how deviance is functional for society and how society responds to the deviance. A deviant individual commits an act that is deemed by the rest of society as criminal because it lends to public outrage and punishment. Because a large portion of society respond to the action as though it is deviant. This draws a boundary between what is and is not deviant. Thus, deviance actually helps to indicate what is not deviant, or the function of labeling behaviors or idea as deviance is to ensure the most people not to engage in those behaviors. Understanding deviance is very important because deviance provides the key to understand the disruption and recalibration of society that occurs over time. Systems of deviance create norms and tell members of a given society how to behave by laying out patterns of acceptable and unacceptable behavior. Also, deviance is any behavior that violates social norms and is usually of sufficient severity to warrant disapproval from the majority of society. Deviance can be criminal or non-criminal. The sociology discipline that deals with crime, behavior that violates the law, is criminology, also known as criminal justice.